Let's be honest. Before anyone reads our full paper, they read our title. And before they understand our methodology, they scan our abstract. And before they cite our work, they search using keywords. So today's session is about mastering those very first impressions. Now, before we move into the technical sessions, I would like to take a few minutes to introduce the GRIT, the organization behind this webinar series. The Global Research Institute and Training Center GRIT was established in 2023 as an independent institution with a strong commitment to advancing research, providing specialized training, and publishing high quality academic journals. Our mission is simple yet powerful to foster academic excellence and promote meaningful knowledge dissemination. We conduct research projects through our in house team and collaborate with universities and research institutions worldwide. Our work is interdisciplinary, international, and impact driven. GRIT operates through various chapters, bringing together researchers, scholars, and professionals across regions. These chapters create local and international networks for collaboration, research exchange, and capacity building. In terms of services, GRIT offers trainings, seminars, webinars, research paper sharing, and thematic discussions, hands on workshops on research tools. We provide training on tools like SPSS, Stata, and R. We conduct sessions on research paper writing, project monitoring and evaluation, and publication strategy. And most importantly, we organize monthly webinars like the one you are attending today. Hosted by our international members, these webinars focus specifically on strengthening research skills. Other important pillar of GRIT is our publication strategy and mentorship. We assist researchers in converting manuscript into publishable journal articles. We provide guidance on journal selection. We support editing and proofreading, and we offer structured mentorship from topic selection all the way to publication. At GRIT, we don't just train, we work with researchers throughout the academic journey. GRIT is also proud to be the publisher of two international peer reviewed journals. The first is the Journal of Sustainability and Environmental Management, JOSEM. This is an open access journal published quarterly focusing on environmental science and sustainable practices. The second is the Journal of Multidisciplinary Research Advancements. This journal is published semi-annually and promotes interdisciplinary dialogue and collaboration. Through these journals, we aim to create accessible and credible platforms for researchers globally. Now, I would like to acknowledge our incredible GRIT team who work behind the scenes to make the sessions like this possible, from research operations and finance to media and communications. Events like today's webinar are always a collaborative effort. Now, let us move to introducing our distinguished mentors for today. We are truly honored to host two international scholars. First, we have Dr. Baturh Yarkwan from Nigeria. Dr. Yarkwan is a senior lecturer in biochemistry at Joseph Sarwuan Tarka University, Nigeria, and a certified environmental professional. He holds a PhD in chemistry and biochemistry from the University of Windsor, Canada. His research expertise includes environmental biochemistry, wastewater treatment, water and soil quality research, trace organic contaminants, microplastics, and sustainable environmental solutions. He is also actively engaged in teaching and supervising research students. Today, he will guide us through the different types of titles, including descriptive and analytical titles, the structure of strong and effective abstracts, and a practical keyword strategy for indexing and visibility. We are very grateful for your presence today, Dr. Yarkwan. Our second mentor is Dr. Tristan Kapp from South Africa. Dr. Kapp is a religion studies scholar, public intellectual, and human rights advocate. His areas of specialization include comparative religion, esotericism, digital religion, politics, and conspirituality. He holds a PhD in religion studies along with Masters and Bachelors of Divinity from the University of Pretoria. His research explores post-theistic spirituality, sexuality, decoloniality, and algorithmic conspirituality. bringing together religion, society, and digital culture. Today, Dr. Cap will offer us a frequent abstract writing mistakes that often lead to rejection, real examples of accepted versus rejected abstracts, and practical tips to improve clarity and conciseness. We are equally honored to have you with us, Dr. Cap. Briefly walking you through today's flow. Now, I encourage everyone to actively participate. Please note down your questions during the sessions and share them in the chat box. Now, before we begin, I would like to share an important announcement regarding the certificates of participation. If you would like to receive a certificate, we have an automatic downloading system in place. You will receive a link. Once you click on the link, you will need to enter your name correctly, select the title of today's webinar, and enter an access code. Please note that we will provide the access code at the end of the webinar. So I strongly encourage you all to stay with us until the end of the session to receive the access code and successfully download your certificate. With that, I would like to hand over the floor to Dr. Yarkwan and begin his session. Dr. Yarkwan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asmita. Thank you for all the great work you do at GREAT. I want to welcome all the participants. Thanks to my co-presenter, Dr. Tristan. And I am immensely grateful to the leadership and the organization at GREAT that has given us this platform today to grow ourselves. I come as a teacher and as a learner. So I don't come as an expert who has every knowledge and answer to all the questions. As I'm presenting, I'm also learning along the way. Without much ado, precision is the hallmark of scholarship, on which note I crave your indulgence to dive into the business of the day. Okay, I believe we can see my screen. Asmita, please, could you confirm that you are seeing my screen? Hello?
We can see your screen, yeah.
Thank you very much. Once again, the presentation is titled Writing Effective Titles, Keywords, Abstracts, First Impressions that Determine Readership. For today's presentation, we will be walking through the next 40 minutes, looking at why do we have a research title, types of titles, structure of abstracts, and I have so many questions there that we'll be providing answers to, and then keyword strategy for indexing and visibility. So the first question I would like to start with, why should I read it? With millions of published works out there, why should I read one out of a million? Even if you zero down to your own narrow field of specialty, you have countless materials to work with. Why should you read one? I thought I could have a doodle poll at this point, but I didn't fix that up. But let me just ask you, what makes you decide to read an article? Can you please in the chat box just roughly provide answer to this question? We have A to F. Just choose one and type your response and send that in the chat box. And I will kindly request Dr. Tristan, he's also an editor, so please, he will help me just scan through the answers in the chat box and give us one that is most recurring. Is Dr. Tristan there? I'm sorry to bounce on you, sir, if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. I know you are a colleague indeed. So which is the dominant answer coming in? You are our returning officer for this morning or for this afternoon.
Let's give us a few minutes. think it's oscillating between B and E.
Okay. Great. So it seems E or B and E, we carry the day, and if we continue and everybody pulls in, then most likely E will be on top of the show. So we all are saying that for it to be worth your time, the title should speak directly to you. The content of the article as expressed in the title should resonate well with you. And maybe you are looking for a methodology to adapt for your research. You should find something about it saying somewhere. And perhaps you find it worth referencing in your own work. Okay. Now, how do you make sure that the work you write, the article you write, attracts somebody's readership? That's what we're looking at today. Title matters. Why? There was a study reported in 2002, and I want to highlight the findings of it. One, it was said if 5,000 academics were surveyed. Mind you, in 2002, we did not have much of the digital technology that we have now. So most of the readings was from hard copy of published journal articles. So of the 5,000 surveyed academics, it was reported that at least each one of them surveyed 1,142 journal articles per year. Out of those they surveyed, they read at least 200 abstracts in a whole year. And this number trickled down to only 97 full articles read in an entire year. Averagely, it means that researchers at that time were reading 1 in 12 surveyed journal articles. I wish we have a statistics like that for 2026. I think the statistics may be 1 in 50 or thereabout. I'm only presuming by now, because once you hit Google Scholar, for instance, you have hundreds or thousands of articles popped at you. Which one do you decide to rate? Therefore, a title gives a face to your article and determines the readership. That is why it is very, very important. The next slide is a bit on the entertainment side. Don't take it off point, please. How many of you will like this, my friend, to be your friend and your buddy? And then you have a second guy over there. So which one do you decide to go with? The face he carries is what makes an impression that you will go with. Your article is just like this. If you give it a bad face, people will yank off. If you give it a charming, attractive, smiley face, people will pull towards it. Now, let's look at types of titles. We have basically two titles that we're going to be two title types we're going to be looking at, the descriptive and the analytical titles. Let's look at the focus of these two. A descriptive titles mentions the topic, the subject, or the focus of the research work. In other words, it answers the question what the study covers. Whereas an analytical title emphasizes the findings and proffers interpretation or key arguments of the research. In other words, it is describing, so what did we find out and why did we find out what we have? What is the implication of what we found out? A title can define all this in just a glance. A descriptive title is informative and neutral in nature, whereas an analytical title tilts more on the argumentative side, revealing the conclusion or the relationship between the variables or the factors that were important in the study. What is the content? A descriptive title focuses on the topic. Let's take a quick example. An overview of solar energy utilization in Nigeria. That's a description. You are just taking a periscopic shot at solar energy utilization in Nigeria. It's general, it's just describing a terrain, a scenario. whereas analytical titles focuses on conclusion or outcome. This same topic, if it is coming to us in an analytical perspective, we feature something like this. Solar energy utilization in Nigeria has improved small business efficiency and revenue performances. You know that it has narrowed down to something. It is promoting solar energy. It is highlighting the benefits of solar energy, the socio-economic output or productivity that has come or that has been achieved via harnessing solar energy in Nigeria. What is the goal? A descriptive title simply states the subject. It could also mention the design of the experiment or the method that was employed in carrying out the study, whereas an analytical title argues, evaluates, or tries to explain the findings, highlighting the significance or the relationship between that and other established similar studies in the society. What is the tone? Their tones are also not the same. The tone of a descriptive title tells the reader what the paper is about, whereas the analytical title emphasizes the empirical findings from the work. So it does not just give you a mere impression of what you are looking at, but it tells you exactly what do you expect to find out, given a backup with numbers and empirically derived and substantiated argument. Let's take two examples that can bring together all that we have been saying in trying to describe descriptive and analytical titles. A survey of chemistry students' performances in final year research project in Nigerian universities. Okay? It's a survey. So what does it tell us? What were the findings from the survey? How are their performances? It just tells us. If we're to put that in an analytical perspective, we can say factors impacting chemistry final year students' grades in research project works in Nigerian universities. You are talking about essentially the same thing, except that in the first instance, you come as a description. In the second instance, you talk about it in terms of an analysis. You are being analytical about it. So you have highlighted the factors. Somebody looking at this title, we know that, oh, there are certain factors here. What could they be like? Is it attention? Is it the socioeconomic status of the student? Is it the way the projects are assigned? What are the factors? Oh, I want to find out what are the factors. So let's summarize all this in one single piece and look at the differences. So we look at the features or the comparisons between a descriptive and an analytical title. I just want to bring this up in one page so that you can look at all we have been saying in the previous slides. The questions answered. Analytical title is answering what is it about? Who, what, where? Oh, sorry. There is a flipping up. Analytical should be under descriptive, please. I flipped up the title, so just flip it up. I'm sorry for that. Meet up, please. So a descriptive title is focusing on what is it about, who, what, where, whereas an analytical title is answering the question, why was it so? How was it done? What is the impact that was created from the study? The content. A descriptive title focuses on the topic, the subject, or the methodology, whereas an analytical title focuses on the interpretation, the findings, and the argument. The goal of a descriptive title is just to describe or to provide a general information without going into any specifics, whereas an analytical title tries to analyze or evaluate the facts of the matter. And the tone is generally objective and neutral for a descriptive title, whereas it is interpretative, argumentative, and persuasive in the analytical title. So, when do we use a descriptive title? Basically, when you are making reports, when you are making overviews, or when you are bringing summary of subject matters. When do you use analytical titles? If you are writing a research paper and empirically derived data, you rather go with analytical title. If you are writing your thesis, analytical title will be preferred. At the same time, if you are writing a persuasive essay to the intent that at the end of the reading, the reader should have a biased, should have, and let me say a biased mind, you should prefer what you are saying to other existing similar ideologies. When you want to interpret a data that you have found, or when you are investigating the causes of a matter, when you are arguing over a specific point and you want to highlight and emphasize your viewpoint, it is best to employ analytical title style of writing. Okay. I believe we are students, as I am. So, what you have listened so far, can we take a quick exercise about it? This is taken from Engo Academy, an online resource, and I give credit to them for this table. A study was conducted to highlight or to explain the implication of meditation, how meditation impacts on nurses' efficiency at work. And here were the suggested titles. And I want to believe my help and my colleague, Dr. Tristan, is still by the side. Let us name them title 1, 2, 3, 4, beginning from benefits of meditation down to nurses on the move, colon, a quantitative report. Which of these titles do you think best explains what we have talked about? Which of these titles is more attractive, is more catchy, is more significant to you to adapt? I mean, if you are to read, the same work is captioned under these 4 topics. Which of them looks more attractive, appealing, engaging to you? Please, can you hit the chat box again? Write your number. If you prefer number 1, just write 1 in the chat box. If you prefer number 2, just write 2 in the chat box. And Dr. Tristan, we announce the highest number after 30 seconds. Yes, what is the highest number?
It would seem that there is a tie between 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So let us move on to dissect this and see what actually. There are 4 columns on top. A good title should actually, if you have followed these things we have talked about before, should satisfy all these 4 columns. Number 1, does it predict the content of what is being reported? Number 2, is it setting, is it resonating well with the readership? Is it interesting enough? Number 3, does it reflect the right tone that you want to pass across? Does it include any important keywords that we describe exactly what you have in mind, for which reason the study was being conducted? So, I'm sorry, I'm having a technical glitch. Just a moment. Let me resolve that. Okay. So, for you to have a readable or an appealing topic, the topic should be able to predict the content, should be able to arouse interest, should be able to reflect the appropriate tone of what you have in mind, and it should be able to pass across, including the keywords of the findings in the study. And from what I had explained briefly before, we are looking at how meditation impacts on nurses' efficiency at work. So let us look at it. Table 1, the first title, Benefits of Meditation for Nursing Professional, a quantitative investigation. It predicts the content, the word quantitative investigation, and the word method, are benefits. It means the content is predictable. Is it interesting? Benefits of meditation. No. Does it reflect the appropriate tone of what you set out to achieve? Remember, the study is is showcasing the fact that meditation improves nurses' practices. So does it reflect the tone? No. It just says benefits. So what are the benefits? Are there important keywords? Yes. Meditation is a keyword. Nurses is a keyword. Benefits? Yes. So it has failed the test under 2 points. Let's take the second one. Why mindfulnesses make the best communicators? No content is predicted, but it looks interesting. Wow. So I can be a better communicator, or nurses that meditate are better communicators. Yes, that's good. To be an effective nurse, you must be good at communicating. So it reflects the tone. But is there any keyword that is highlighted? No. Meditation gurus, no content predicted. It looks interesting. No tone is reflected. No important keyword is highlighted. And the final one, nurses on the move, a quantitative report on how meditation can improve nurse performance. The content is predictable. It looks interesting. Quantitative report. Wow. Meditation can improve performance. So what did they find out that meditation does? What are the variables? Well, let me see them. So number 4 would have it as the best way to capture this research finding. I have another exercise here. I wish we have the time to take it, but we don't have the time. If the information is out there, you can predict it. You can make attempts at it, but I will just allow you 30 seconds to read through the points and craft a topic for yourself with it, using the guides we have made above. Please go through the points and predict a title for this study. And keep it in mind, I think we may, if we have the time, use it to craft an abstract as well. Okay, for the sake of time, let's move. What are the factors to consider when you are crafting a title? Highland and Zoo researched, and they reported that the best of titles are preferably 10 to 12 words long. In writing your titles, avoid technical terms, avoid abbreviations, avoid the use of active verbs. Your title should cover the key findings and should show a highlight of the paper. Avoid sensationalism and questions. Don't raise titles that we put up someone immediately. In a very sensitive world wherein we are, don't use titles that we make somebody to throw up. Focus on informativity, brevity, and incorporation of the keywords. So if you take these factors to consider and you put them under the 4 subheadings we illustrated above, I think I should be very certain that you're going to make a very big and good readable title. Please read this. This adapted from Baturh Yarkwan 2012. And I quote it without mincing words. It's a direct shift from what they reported. Short-titled articles had higher viewing and citation rates than those with longer titles. Titles containing a question mark, containing a reference to a specific geographical region, and that used a colon or hyphen were associated with a lower number of citations. Articles with results describing titles were cited more often than those with methods describing titles. We'll explain more on this when we move to the next chapter. So, this is quite a finding for you that can help you going forward. If you want more readership, you know how to craft the face of your article to attract the appropriate readership. In summary, we are saying that a good research title should satisfy these check boxes. It should form a first good impression. It should increase discoverability on the search engines that we have nowadays. It should provide clarity, and the focus of the work should be very obvious. It should resonate well with your target audience, and the title should be able to speak to the fact that the written work is relevant enough for the person to consider. So when your title check all these boxes, then you are sure to have crafted a good title. We move on to abstract. I want to say that, and once again, I want to say thank you to the organizers. I'm coming from a pure science background, as the introduction has said, and my co-presenter is coming from the arts and humanities. So why I could be talking more on the abstract in the science or physical sciences perspective of chemistry, biochemistry, I don't know what writing an abstract in religion, in history, in economics may look like. So much of what I will be talking will be focusing or will be unintentionally but biased towards the sciences, which is my specialty. I crave your apology. I beg your pardon for that. So an abstract is not a one jacket fits all matter. Different fields will approach it in different perspectives, and even journals may choose to present an abstract format in a peculiar pattern. There is a structured abstract format, there is a block abstract format, and so on. So in crafting your abstract, you need to be quite familiar with your target journal where you want to publish your work. And in the sciences, I will be focusing on 5 questions that defines what a good abstract is like. However, you need to first and foremost understand the purpose of an abstract, because when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So what is the purpose of an abstract? As a researcher that you are intending that your research findings that are carefully crafted in the publication should be able to bring succor or benefits, profit to humanity. This can only be achieved as you provide adequate, sufficient information of your findings in the public domain. Some people may never get to read your work, But an abstract of less than 250 words, somebody can read it in a minute and he will have a good impression or an idea of what you're talking about. Therefore, a well-designed abstract alone can give someone the sufficient information to cite your work. And of course, we know that all of us want to improve on our citations. We want to have high citation indexes. We want our work to go out there. If you provide the requisite information in the abstract, somebody can cite you just by reading that. The abstract informs the rest of the work, whether it is worthy of reading or not. So, what does an abstract do again? It provides the reader with the gist of your write-up and helps them to decide whether they are interested in the work sufficient enough to give their time to read it or not. It provides a mental picture to follow the detailed information, analysis, and arguments in the complete article. Let me ask you, if you are a driver, assuming you are driving to a place where you don't know the road at all, and you are driving to a place where you know the road, in fact, you even know when next to expect the next bump on the road, which of these makes you to drive the best? If you are a driver like me, when you know where you are going, when you know the road, you are more focused, you make it easier. In a similar vein, if you have a good abstract, well structured, somebody can look at it and know what information is contained there. And an abstract is like a guide. Once you have a good abstract, it takes hold of the mind of the person and he begins to follow through it to process the entirety of the well-packaged work you have in your publication, in your write-up. It enables members to remember, it enables readers to remember major points or highlights of your work. It can be a good source of information for referencing. So, how do you demystify an abstract? And let me take a quick example here. You know that as educators, as learned men as we are, we often know this concept of the domains of education, isn't it? And we talk about the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. These are big fancy words, CAP. A professor of educational psychology was teaching this course and the students were finding it difficult to understand. And so he redefined these three domains of education. He said it is education of the head, of the heart, and of the hand. In other words, what comes as big concept is being simplified into very simple concept. If you say you are learned, if you say you are educated, then your head should be different, your heart should be different, and your heart should be able to do things others cannot do. I just want to use that as an anchor to what we are going. So we look at this as the domains of education illustrated in this diagrammatic form. I give tribute to this chart, the designers of this chart. I picked it online. So I want to hinge on that to describe the anatomy of a readable abstract. And I basically describe that with questions. A good abstract should answer basically 5 questions. What? Why? How? What? If I were sitting with you in class, I would have been asking you to repeat with me. What? Why? How? What? So can we try that, please? What? Why? How? What? Can we try that? Please unmute yourself and repeat with me. What? Why? How? What?
For your information, Dr. Yarkwan, the participants cannot unmute themselves.
Oh, thank you. So you that has unmuted, let's go together on their behalf. What? Why? How? What? These are the things that describes an abstract. Come with me. The first, what? What is the problem you are investigating? If you don't know what yourself you set out to do, how do you convince somebody else what you are doing? And how can you even do it in the first place? In most cases, the opening sentence of an abstract should clearly define the purpose of the research. It should also provide sufficient but brief information explaining the problem that you set out to solve. It should clearly illustrate the problem in the context of the research general topic and in the specific area wherein you have solved your problem. I take this abstract, this part of the abstract from a publication of my previous research group at the University of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Pharmaceuticals are a class of emerging contaminants that have been widely detected in wastewater treatment facilities, influent and effluent. The purpose, you have, this is coming strong. It has laid a foundation on why this study was important. They threaten the environment and non-target life. You can see. And then they went on to say the aim of the work. And I like the use of the word or the two words, the aim. The aim was to remove two non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs, diclofenac and aceclofenac, from synthetic wastewater via enzymatic oxidation, oligomerization, and precipitation. If your study, if what you are reading, if what you are researching on is in the line of enzymatic oxidation of emerging contaminants, then you are automatically hooked by reading just this line, this sentence, and you begin to dive further into looking at it. So this is a way to convey your, the intent of your journal article or the intent of your write-up to your readers. Quickly, they understand what this is all about, and if they're interested, they jump into it. If they're not interested, they save their time. Let's look at the second question. Why is the work being done? Why are you investigating the problem? You need to situate or answer this question in the context of the problem you have set out to solve. And you need to provide sufficient background information that your study is standing upon. And in doing this, you have to highlight necessary previous information in a succinct manner without delving into details. In other words, you are looking more of what you have written in your introduction. Let us take an example. This is the same abstract I'm working with. I've only dissected another point of it. Thus, a promising treatment method, soybean peroxidase, which catalyzes the oxidation of phenolic and anilino donors in the presence of hydrogen peroxide, was investigated as a treatment method. Remember, we have earlier said that the presence of these pharmaceuticals acts as, they could impact negatively on the environment and on non-target members of the biota. Therefore, why is it important here? You are trying to employ another technology to see if this can be done away with, if that problem can be resolved using this technology. How? The next question an abstract focuses on is how. How did you investigate the problem? You have identified why it is important to do that. You have identified, what is to be done. But then, how did you do it? Mention the key points of the methods you employed in your investigation. Highlight key steps, preferably in a sequential manner. Mind you, methodologies are always sequentially written. So if you want to report as well, report it in that sequential manner, in a concise manner. Key preparatory steps should be covered. And again, I take another part of that same abstract. Soybean peroxidase can be extracted from soybean hulls, a byproduct of the soybean industry. DCF and HCF at these concentrations were amenable to SPB catalyzed removal under the optimal operational parameters of pH 5 and 4, hydrogen peroxide concentration of 0.4 and 0.45 millimolar, and minimum effective enzyme concentration of 0.15 and 0.6 U per mil, respectively. So you have known the concentration of the enzyme, you have known the operational parameters that were employed, all in the study. The initial first order rate constant and half-life of each substrate were also determined under established optimum conditions. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Yarkwan. We are running out of time, so please make sure that we are in line with the schedule.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be up in the next 6 minutes, thereabout. Thanks. Okay. So the next question to answer is, what are the major findings? This describes your results. Highlight the key findings from your work. Take cognizance with your opening statement that you introduced your work with, and state the results that support the title and that showcases the novelty or the improvement. Your contribution to knowledge and most prominent points could be featured in here. Again, I bring you this example. The authors are reporting that they were able to achieve removal of 95% in both compounds within a very short time of 0.84, just 1 plus minute and 0.84 of a minute. That's a great achievement for us in this field. The next question is what? What is the implication of your findings? What is the contribution of your work towards addressing the problems that you have investigated? And what do you suggest that should inform the basis for subsequent studies in this field that you yourself can develop on or can continue with, or other researchers can cash in on? And look at the conclusion they are drawing here. Again, I take this statement from that work. The SPB catalyzed reaction is a highly effective method for removing DCF and this from synthetic wastewater, and it highlights its potential for environmental cleanup of pharmaceutical contaminants. This statement alone is enough for you to cite this work in your introduction of another work you are doing similar to it. The pitfalls to avoid in abstract writing. Number one, use the appropriate tenses. Abstract writing harnesses a blend of past and present tenses. The background, the methods, and the results may be presented in reporting speech, that's in past tenses. The relevance of your findings and their implications will be better presented in the present tenses, and keep the style to the journal in question and your field of study while you maintain the word limits as provided by your publisher. And I want to say, the abstract is the first thing to be read in your work. However, it is always the last thing you will write after you have written all the paper. There is no citation to be included in writing your abstract. All that I have said, I want to put it in another word. What? Oh gosh. What is the problem you are investigating? Why? Why are you investigating it? This can be taken from your introduction. How did you go about it? Taken from methodology. What are the major findings you had from your results? And what is the implication of your findings in discussion? So another school of thought has it that you can use the structure IMRAD, IMRD, as a guide to you writing an abstract. Whether you go with the IMRAD pattern or you go with the what, why, how, what question pattern, following it carefully brings you to a very sound abstract. A word for thought. Tailor your abstract in such a way that the reader would have sufficient information to cite your work, even if he does not read the whole article. Keyword strategy for indexing and visibility. Keywords are terms or short phrases, and they represent the core topics that is addressed in your research paper or publication that you want to put forth, and they fulfill multiple roles, both technical and conceptual. The functions of keywords are they enhance visibility, they increase, they enable proper indexing in academic databases, institutional repositories, and specialized search engines such as the Google Scholar, Scopus, and the Web of Science. The keyword increases also the impact. Frequency of occurrence of the search term in the main text of the article can also be incorporated in the calculation of the relevance of the ranking of, and consequently ranking of your work. It increases the citation. How do you craft sound keywords? Number one, use terms appropriate to your field. Use terms commonly used by your peers and not complex terms. For instance, rather than saying N-acetylated phenolic derivative, you can simply say acetaminophen. Fancy words are good, but in order to communicate, you got to avoid the use of fanciful words that mask the meaning of what you are saying. Use terms that reflect the general field of your investigation and employ terms that describe the specific work that you have done without being vague. Use the appropriate tenses and numbers that could reflect the results of what you have. Use appropriate terms that illustrate the problem that you have solved, and use terms that will highlight the contribution of your work. In conclusion, therefore, there is no single correct way to craft a good title, abstract, or keywords. However, thinking carefully and projecting yourself by penning down the words that will attract the widest audience to your article is one thing you should have in the back of your mind anytime you're trying to craft a title or an abstract. Never think that you can master it all on the first attempt. So the key is you write, you delete, you write again, you edit it, you edit it, you edit it, you edit it until the editor-in-chief does the final editing and sends you back a congratulations for your work. Be confident, be bold, be determined, and this can obviously help you to be successful. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for the audience. I appreciate it. I'll be happy to take questions after the second presenter at due time. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Yarkwan. The session was truly informational, and thank you also for making it participatory through the polls. I want to encourage the participants to put their questions in the chat box, and also I want to announce again that the certificate link will be shared at the end of the session, so please stay with us till the end. So now I want to request Dr. Tristan to continue with the session.
Thank you so much, Asmita. Let me share. See, it always happens. When it's my turn to present, I always mucked up something. Oh, here's the button. Okay. Right. Let's make this full screen quickly. Okay. Thank you, Asmita and Deepika and everybody here, especially to my colleague, Dr. Yarkwan. That was very insightful. So I will be elaborating on, as well as writing effective titles, keywords, and abstracts, but from a humanities perspective. Just a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Tristan Kapp. I am a Saatchi Research Fellow at the Desmond Tutu Center for Religion and Social Justice at the University of the Western Cape, an Associate Researcher at the Department of Religion Studies at the University of Pretoria, and the co-editor of the Journal for the Study of Religion in Southern Africa. So why does this matter? Why do writing effective titles, abstracts, and keywords, why does it matter? So it is the first contact for editors and reviewers. Titles and abstracts are the first and often only parts editors, reviewers, and readers see. When you open an article, for example, you read the title you read the title first. And as you saw Prof. Yarkwan Yarkwan, for example, Professor Dr. Yarkwan basically indicated, it's basically crafting the correct title. There's no correct method, but there are essentially effective titles and there are non-effective titles. But I will elaborate on that later. It determines discoverability and indexing. They shape discoverability, indexing, and citation. It influences citation rates. About up to 50 to 75% of readers never open the full text. They make decisions based on titles and abstracts alone. Many readers never open the full article. Abstracts are therefore valuable overviews for methodology, arguments, evidence, and conclusions. The key idea here is that poor first impressions obviously relate to less readership. What good looks like. So, the title should be concise, specific, searchable, or punchy, relevant, and audience specific. A good rule of thumb that I usually do is, who do you want to read this article? Who are you writing it for? Are you writing it for experts? Are you writing it for non-experts? I'm of the opinion that science and research is a public service, and it should therefore be written for individuals who are essentially non-experts in the field. It should be dedicated to individuals who essentially do not know what you are researching, because of the fact that in our society today, we are dealing with a controversial controversial issue of what they call in scholarship the enshittification of scholarship, where scholarship and publication is commoditized, where we as researchers are continuously pressured into publishing or perishing. And this is an unsustainable model for science. It reproduces, it prefers quantity over quality. And therefore, if we are to write quality research, we need to focus on good titles, keywords, and abstracts. So a one-sentence hook representing your contribution is something that I believe is a very good way of starting it off. Keywords, strategic discipline-specific terms. They are essentially what I call the hashtags of academia that journal use for search engine optimization. I unfortunately swapped over the E there, so I hope you'll excuse me for that. But it determines discoverability. So use the jargon essentially for your keywords and leave them out of the title. With regards to the abstract, usually abstracts vary between 250 to about 800 words. I've received a journal special issue that requested me to write an abstract for 800 words, which I felt was a bit overkill, but some journals do prefer that for the sake of clarity, but you should always confirm the abstract length with regards to the topic as well as with regard to the journal you want to submit it to. Most often, some researchers suggest that you should choose your journal before you submit your article. Others suggest that you should write your article first and then search for a suitable journal. Whichever way you choose, it is connected to global scholarly communication norms, and therefore a title, keywords, and abstract is absolutely crucial to every article. So what is the role of the title? It acts as a predictor of content. It balances human readability and algorithmic indexing, optimized for human readers and search algorithms, for example, Google Scholar, Scopus, Web of Science, ResearchGate, academia.edu, whatever. But please avoid excessive jargon, obscurity, or cleverness. Clarity beats cleverness in academic context, but creativity wins the day. For example, analyzing the psycholinguistics of new media extremism versus understanding the psychological role of language in extremism on social media. Research shows titles with clear variables and outcomes have a higher impact. You don't have to include a very complex title. I would always encourage being creative with your title and make it punchy. Not jargon specific. If you are essentially, as I mentioned earlier, writing your article for a specific industry or for your peers, then of course it is understandable that you would use a more analytical title, as what Professor Dr. Yarkwan, for example, indicated. Simultaneously, if you, for example, want to write for a more informal audience, you would obviously have the idea of, I believe, a form of more descriptive title. But I see in the comments someone said that in the STEM fields, it is a bit more difficult, although I have to disagree because some of my colleagues in STEM have written research papers with a more sort of punchy and accessible title. But I believe that I'm not an expert in STEM, so please resort to your experts in your relevant fields. This is only a suggestion. For the sake of my perspective, you're more than welcome to disagree with me on that. So what is a strong keyword selection? Keywords act as search terms across databases, PubMed, Web of Science, Scopus, as well as the National Library of Medicine, for example. Essentially, you would find relevant keywords ideas. There's a wonderful program called Ask Socrates, where you can identify certain keywords. Another scholar of mine has suggested that you, for example, go to AI and ask the AI chatbot or the large language model to throw out a bunch of keywords that you would like to, for example, choose. Simultaneously, there is also the option of, I don't know if you've seen these pictures of where they create a word blur, where essentially you've got big words, and I think it was Dr. Yarkwan who also used it in his presentation, where you've got this influx of words connected and mishmashed in one single picture. You can also use that to identify keywords. So, but choose terms that reflect your core concepts and your methods. If the study is empirical, cite empirical or use empirical keywords. If it is theoretical, use theoretical keywords. If it is mixed methods, obviously you will use a balance of both. Avoid redundancy between your title and your keywords. So don't repeat the stuff that you've already included in your title in your keywords. Use your keywords sparingly, but intentionally. As I said earlier, keywords are like social media hashtags, but different. They connect search engines and researchers to your paper. As such, the keywords that you use in your paper are essentially hashtags. There are popular hashtags that have a more or a broader reach, that are more frequently used, and there are hashtags that would perceivably be considered new or not used at all. Algorithmically speaking, it depends on what you want to achieve with the article. If the intention with the article is creating a novel knowledge, then of course you would obviously use keywords that equate with that novel research concept. If the idea is to add to an already extant body of knowledge, then obviously the keywords would obviously reflect that idea of the already existent body of knowledge, thereby using keywords popular within the field and thematic papers within that scope. What does a strong abstract do? A strong abstract, as Dr. Yarkwan described, should explain why the research matters, state what was done, summarize what was found, and indicate what it means. It should also aim to answer the following questions: how, what, when, where, why. These are good rules of thumbs because of the fact that how describes obviously the methodology, what describes obviously the focus on what you are focusing on, the when obviously with regard to history and I believe humanities scholarship indicates the timeline, where, the location, and why. What is the relevance of your research? Remember, you are motivating why your research matters. Position the abstract as a miniature research article. It is not an introduction, neither is it a teaser. It is a compressed argument where essentially you are conflating everything that you want to aim and do with the paper into one single paragraph. This mirrors structured abstract formats recommended in many disciplines, for example, medical humanities and the social sciences. One thing that I would also say with regard to the abstract is that your abstract should be concise. brevity over complexity always is preferable because of the fact that a lot of researchers, as Dr. Yarkwan indicated, do not read past the first title. And therefore, your abstract should basically engage the reader by asking them, or rather encouraging them to read your entire article and basically motivate them as to why your research matters and why they should read it. Why is your paper more important than the plethora of other papers in that field? 3 frequent abstract writing mistakes. Errors that reduce readability and acceptance with regard to research papers. In other words, if you write a paper that have these things in it, it is quite probable that it would be desk rejected. I encounter many papers as a journal editor that do not meet certain quality standards, and therefore, unfortunately, they get quality rejected. I do not have time as an editor to decipher what you are trying to mean with the article, and therefore, the title and the abstract should be clear. Errors that reduce readability and acceptance. Vague objectives. There is no clear research question and concise argument. In other words, you have to physically go through the entire paper, read through the entire abstract to try and discover what is the core research question and the argument here. Missing or unclear methods. This is a common mistake, even something that I've made, is not specifying the methods. It's brilliant to have that idea in mind that you want to research about, but not specifying the methods essentially misses a crucial ethical step in the research process. There's no, I believe it's quite clear why everyone at university, no matter which degree you are at, one of the important subjects you have at university is research methodology. There is no concrete results. What are the results that are absent in these studies? This is obviously only applicable to the study of mostly empirical studies, but also theoretical studies to a similar degree, where the results of your study, you are creating this brilliant methodological and brilliant argument, but there is no results in terms of what is actually achieved with this. What research gap does it follow? Because this is what the results essentially mean. It's the research gap that you are filling with your research. The mismatch with the full paper. Your abstract mismatches with your title, or it essentially mismatches with your entire article, which is a complete blunder and creates confusion for everybody involved. Your research paper should not be a war zone. It should be a clean and concise method to how you went about researching something unique and how you went about researching it. Exceeding word limits. Many journals or conferences specify a specific word limit to abstracts. Obviously, when you write an abstract, it's okay to go 10, 20 words over, but it is preferable to eliminate certain filler words and certain redundancies. But poor abstracts obviously lead to rejections. These errors, as I mentioned above, are consistently flagged in journal editorial guidelines. If you are unsure about how to write that abstract or what the journal expects of your abstract, you can go to the journal guidelines and consult these guidelines or the FAQ sections to sort of gauge what the journal expects of you and how your article should be formatted. Formatting is crucial, and do not underestimate the pedanticness of certain journals in accepting certain papers with certain words, or that go over certain specified word limits in terms of the abstract. Mistake example, vague purpose. The paper explores issues in identity studies. What does that mean? It lacks specifics. What issues? Which theories? How does it explore them? Based on whose research? What has been done in the research field for you to analyze? Do you show a cognizance of what is happening in the field if you, for example, do not indicate previous precedents in the research field in your abstract? This, for example, as I read here, offers neither scope nor a methodological direction. Issues is intellectually void, empty. And identity studies is so broad it communicates absolutely nothing. Replace generalities with variables, contexts, or theoretical lenses. You are not here to solve the entirety of the research field. You are here to contribute to this research body. You are here to give a small direction of how the field should interpret this issue that you are raising. You are not there to submit substantive answers unless it is, for example, a very nuanced perspective and a very novel field with very strong research engagements and precedents set. Abstracts are not conclusions. They are invitations to make readers care about your subject, your field, and your research. Good abstracts state a focused aim. They are a blueprint for a recipe. Poor abstracts lead to poor papers. If you have a poor recipe, you will never be a master chef. I always encourage people, if you write an article, write your abstract first. If you've done your abstract, highlighted the keywords, then you've already got a sort of an idea of where your research paper is going. It's like the introduction. The idea of the abstract essentially is to generate a sort of idea of where you are going with your research. If you cannot identify that with your abstract, how do you expect the reader to navigate that throughout your article? And therefore, the abstract is crucial before you even start writing. So make sure you solidify or you get the abstract right before you start writing the article. Accepted abstract features.
So,
Purpose.
sorry to interrupt, Dr. Tristan. So we are running out of time. So I want to warn you about our limited time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I will try to be as concise as possible.
Sure.
So the example template: purpose, methods, key findings, conclusion, and significance. Clear aim, brief, accurate methods, specific results, implications stated clearly. Emphasize structural transparency. Reviewers are trained to scan for these components instinctively, and predictable or logical order reduces cognitive load and credibility increases. Structure is not formulaic, it is reader-centered design. Rejected abstract features. What are the features of a bad abstract? Excessive background, undefined methods or variables, as I mentioned earlier, generalized claims, sweeping statements, logical fallacies, no clear conclusion, poor grammar, or spelling. Remember, readers and reviewers don't have time to infer your meaning. Suggestion: AI is a valuable tool to help you structure your ideas. Write your own abstract first and then ask AI for ways to improve it and then edit it accordingly. Do not let AI write your abstract on your behalf. AI is not an expert in your field. You are, and your article will be rejected. Title pitfalls to avoid: clever or cryptic wording. Intellectual sophistication sometimes produces opacity, produces communicative opacity. Did your brain catch that? Exactly, no. Additionally, too long. Less than 15 to 18 words. Titles exceeding 15 to 18 words often dilute focus and reduce memorability, but Dr. Yarkwan, for example, indicated that it should be shorter. I am in agreement that you should be as short as possible because a long title only creates more cognitive load. Missing key variables or topics, brevity with precision tends to outperform verbosity with ambiguity. Poor indexing terms, also called subjects or subject headings, using too general search terms and engines, failing to handle ambiguous concepts or phrases properly, methodology, population, sample, variable, etc. These are generalized claims. Keywords mean nothing. Clarify them. Tips for clarity. Clarity aids both humans and AI-based indexing. Prefer active voice. We collected samples versus the hypothesis was tested. Define specialized terminology briefly. Epistemic violence as the erasure of marginalized knowledge systems. Maintain logical progression. A leads to B, which leads to C based on D, E, and F, resulting in G. Reduce syntactic complexity. Focus on clarity, precision, and brevity. Clarity is not simplification of ideas, but simplification of expression. Dense syntax does not equal intellectual depth. It often signals unedited thinking. Readers should work to understand the argument, not decode the first sentence. Tips for conciseness. Conciseness is a discipline of subtraction. Remove filler phrases. For example, this paper will. Avoid redundant adjectives. Novel new approach. Keep sentences controlled in length. No run-ons. Respect strict word limits. Conciseness is not brevity at the cost of meaning. Each removed word should increase informational density, but the goal is efficiency, not minimalism. Meaning must remain intact while excess is trimmed. Unnecessary jargon and wordy sentences lead to overcrowded arguments or word salads. Be precise and use arguments intentionally. Quick title checklist. Treat titles as hypotheses about reader search behavior. Does it state the main variable or phenomenon? Is it searchable? Is it under the recommended length? Does it reflect study design if relevant? For example, randomized ethnographic. If the title fails this checklist, revision is not merely cosmetic. It is the strategic positioning of your research within your field. Can a person without any knowledge in your field understand it? Does it contribute to theory or add real research novelty? Always write your papers like you're writing for non-experts. Research is a public service, especially in today's economy. Structured abstract template. This general structure aligns with best practices in research, background or context, aim or question, method, results, conclusions, and implications. IMRAD, as Dr. Yarkwan introduced, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. The underlying logic of problem, method, finding, meaning remains remarkably stable across fields. Most structured abstracts are limited to 200 or 300 words, preferably. This is not set in stone, but a good rule of thumb. Key takeaways. First impressions matter and attention to detail. First impressions shape readership of your article. You don't want people to throw away your article as soon as they've opened it. Discoverability is engineered, not accidental. Clarity and conciseness increases impact. You can read, for example, or see examples in this, how journalists and our news articles frame their titles. Not to say, as Dr. Yarkwan says, that you should sensationalize it or basically be controversial. The idea is to hook the audience on why your research article is relevant, why they need to read it. And this is an example of what you can see from in news, how they use that strategy to hook their audiences. Effective scholarly research is not merely stylistic polish, it is part of research ethics. If knowledge is meant to circulate, it must be made findable and intelligible. Free resources for this, my good colleague and friend, Professor Johannes Cronje, Professor of Digital Learning and AI at the University of Cape Town or the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, has a brilliant Google site on this where you can find free research resources on this. He's an academic career coach, facilitator and trainer of aspiring academics, emerging academic leaders, and postgraduate students.